Have you ever been so in love that you'd follow the person anywhere? Like, I mean, really anywhere? Crazy for Her, or Loco Por Ella, is a new Spanish Netflix rom-com. So is it worth checking out? After a magical night together, Adri voluntarily turns himself in to the psychiatric institution where Carla lives. Adri is a journalist for a gossip-type magazine, and one night out with friends, he is challenged to hit on a girl. When he goes over to meet the challenge, he is intercepted by Carla, and they spend just this wild night of adventure together. But there's one catch. No names, no numbers, no strings. Adri is able to find some info on Carla and eventually finds that she is living in a facility that caters to people with psychiatric issues. Now, at first, I didn't like the character of Adri. He is kind of shallow, a little self-absorbed, and he seems like he's kind of in this arrested development state of life. Carla is wild and spontaneous, and while she looks like she's having fun, some of her actions gave me anxiety because the situations were awkward and potentially very risky. And this is all within the first 10 minutes of the movie. A large portion of the story takes place within the facility, so we get to meet some interesting characters. One is a paranoid schizophrenic, one is delusional, one has Tourette's, and another is obsessive compulsive. And I like how these aren't made fun of, even when they're being played up for some humorous situations. There's still a level of care and respect that comes through the film, and the story ultimately addresses it, I thought, in a pretty good way. At points, this reminded me of The Dream Team. It's that movie from the late 80s with Michael Keaton, Peter Boyle, and Christopher Lloyd. The collection of personalities, they're funny on their own, but they are hilarious when combined. And the same thing goes for Crazy About Her. Some of the characters are pretty funny on their own, but when they get together in the larger group, it really does provide some wonderful humor and even sweet and heartfelt moments. Now, the story is pretty predictable, just like most rom-coms, but I really did like the approach of this one. The learning to accept portion that is present isn't new either. But as we watch our characters interact and grow, I thought it was really engaging and even endearing. The situation for the story is kind of unique, at least it seemed to me. The facility is kind of this voluntary commitment type of institution. But in doing so, you sign over your guardianship to the facility. And the terms for your release, for lack of a better word, are not up to you. But they're also not up to the doctors. And this conflict causes some funny situations, as well as some opportunities for scheming and character growth. It's kind of a come for the love and stay for the lithium sort of scenario. I found myself connecting with several of the characters as I got to learn some of their quirks and their nuances. And when that happened, that's when I was really in the groove with the story. I enjoyed the romance that was trying to be built, but what was ultimately the most engaging is watching the character growth of so many of the characters. I especially liked that the growth didn't come all at the same time, but was shown in various stages as the story went along. We get to root for a character and then be devastated when something sets them back, and then cheer them on, hoping they're going to get back up and continue their journey. The pace of this works pretty well. It's quick but not rushed. And the end, though, does feel a little faster than the rest, but there's also a big level of excitement that's built into the final act, and I think it works well with the faster pace. The ending, though, did leave me questioning just a bit as to what the final resolution is. But it does end on a fairly hopeful note, which is good for a rom-com. I mean, we don't need a dour and depressing ending. During the latter part of the story, there's a level of realism that flashes in Adri's eyes, and the character is beginning to feel something other than infatuation or even love. Is it annoyance or is it maybe acceptance? We don't really know. I wish they would have explored that just a little bit more and figured out a way to address it in the narrative. There's possibly some realization towards the end in a narration portion, but the tie-in, it's just not super strong. So while a lot of this will play out pretty obviously, the characters are really endearing and I found them easy to connect with. The movie's only an hour and 42 minutes, so that runtime is right around that sweet spot for romantic comedies. I had fun with it and I could see myself watching it again at some point. There is sex, nudity, a lot of profanity, and some violence. I give Crazy About Her 4 out of 5 couches. So are there any good rom-coms on your radar at the moment? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for catching with me.